Greetings, fellow foodie fire fiends. Welcome to the Pitwater Smoke Shack. My name's Billy Buick, and we're coming up to the first weekend in April. A very special weekend this year, because it marks the Showcase of the Immortals, the biggest date in the wrestling calendar of the entire year. We're talking, of course, about Wrestlemania 40. In case you can't tell, we're completely pumped for this event. We've loved wrestling and WrestleMania right from way back in the 80s, from the very first WrestleMania, when the immortal Hulk Hogan teamed up with Mr. T to take on Rowdy Roddy Piper, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and Cowboy Bob Orton. And what a fantastic event that was. And it just set the stage for the years and decades to come. And since then, wrestling in general has just gone from strength to strength. So this WrestleMania is particularly special because it celebrates 40 years, 4 decades since that first inaugural WrestleMania. And now we've got the likes of the Bloodline with The Rock and Roman Reigns. We've got Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre. We've got Gunther. We've got the incomparable Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch. It's just star upon star upon star. It's going to be a fantastic event, a wonderful weekend, and it's no surprise they refer to it as the Showcase of the Immortals. And to pay our proper respects and homage to this fantastic event, we need a fantastic cookout. So I spent some time thinking about what would be befitting of such a spectacle, such a star-studded show, which led me to conclude we need something strong, something meaty, something beefy. Now, all of those adjectives could probably be used to describe a good number of the combatants we'll be seeing in the ring this coming weekend. But I was also thinking we need something communal, something that can be shared, something that reflects the importance of the WWE universe to the company's continued growing success. So, this weekend, WrestleMania 40 weekend, to celebrate 40 years of this fantastic event, we are going to be cooking brisket burnt ends, aka meat candy. And it would be remiss of me not to say that I do think the WWE missed out on an opportunity during the Attitude Era to create a wrestler who went by the name of Meat Candy. But missed opportunities aside, this cookout is going to be a knockout. So before we can get this brisket on the smoker, we need to give it a sweet dry brine. Sweet being the key here because we are making meat candy. So we'll start by going in with 150 grams of soft brown sugar. I will put all of the ingredients and the measurements in the description. And after that, just add 50 grams of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of onion granules, 1 teaspoon of garlic granules, a half teaspoon of black pepper, and 2 teaspoons of fresh thyme, and then you just want to give that a good mix. And once that's mixed together, you want to slather it in every single nook and cranny of that brisket. Get it on the top, on the bottom, on the sides. You want it everywhere. Completely coat it. Like I always say about rubs, when you think you've put enough on, add some more. When you think that's definitely enough, add some more. When you think you've added too much, add a little bit more, and then you've probably about got enough. The same applies with brine. This is a bold, beefy piece of meat. This can take a lot of brining, and you want to give it a lot of brine to get that flavour in and to ensure that it is absolutely beautifully, meltingly tender. And once you've got the brine all over that brisket, you want to pop it in the fridge uncovered for anything from 2 to 48 hours. I think we're going to leave ours overnight.
And then once that's done, you can take it out and it should look something beautiful like this. And with your brisket beautifully brined, it's time to light your charcoal and let any of that white smoke clear off, because that's acrid, you don't want that on your meat. Once that's cleared, we can set our temperature, and we're going to be cooking this brisket at about 250 Fahrenheit for anything from 6 to 10 hours really. Every animal's different, we'll just see how long it takes. And in she goes. And once she's in, I'm going to be using 2 different probes to make sure the temperature is measured accurately throughout this entire cook. I'm going with the probe that comes with the Masterbuilt because despite some of the mixed reviews I've read about this, I actually find it to be incredibly accurate. And I'm going to be pairing that with my Meter Plus. And my Meter Plus is of course paired with my app. So I'm just going to go in now, tell the app that I'm cooking beef, tell it that I'm cooking a roast because it doesn't have any concept of smoke, but roast is the closest thing, because I can then select brisket, and the meter will helpfully tell me that it thinks it should be cooked to around 203, which isn't incorrect, but for our purposes we want to start testing just a little bit earlier than that, because anywhere from that 194 to 210 sort of range is where that brisket could be done, and we don't want to miss it. We definitely don't want to overcook it, so we're going to start testing at about 197. And with the brisket on and the probes in, you're now ready to make your Spritz. For this cook, we're going to be doing a very, very simple Spritz, half cola and half beef stock. And for the first 2.5, maybe 3 hours, we're just going to let that brisket sit untouched in that smoke and collect as much of that cherry wood smoke flavour as possible before we then start spritzing to improve the bark. And once we start spritzing, we're going to spritz every hour on the hour until the wrap. And we hit the stall around 160, which means she's now ready to wrap. It took about 5-6 hours to get there. And we're going to be wrapping her in foil because she's taken on all the smoke flavour we need her to. And we're going to be layering her with some of this lovely melted golden beef tallow.
Okay, so that brisket's been running for about 5.5 hours now, and the meter and the Masterbuilt thermometer are both telling me we're at that 195, 197 sort of territory. So it's about time we take an instant reading. We're not really looking to confirm temperature here because I'm happy that the Masterbuilt and the meter are within a couple of degrees of each other, so that tells me that we're probably getting a true reading. What we're looking for here is to see that that brisket is probing like butter, that this probe here just moves through it as though there's almost no resistance whatsoever. Then we know it's time to pull it, and then we can give it a rest. So let's take a look. So there she is, and so we're just looking for resistance here. Barely any. That is like butter. That's just going through like there's nothing there. That's amazing. You get the resistance of the tinfoil and then... yeah, nothing at all. Wonderful. Okay, so she's been on for about 6, maybe 6.5 hours. And as I said, she is probing like absolute butter. And that's how we know she's ready for a rest. So, just going to wrap her in another layer of foil here, just because we've been probing through that and there's lots of holes. We don't want to make too much of a mess while she's resting. And this rest is going to take a couple of hours to really let those proteins relax and make sure we get that really juicy, soft candy effect that we're looking for from those burnt ends. And we're going to pop her in the cooler. A little blanket just to keep that heat in. This is my brisket blanket, which I'm sure you'll agree is incredibly fetching. Let's pop this in. As I said, we've wrapped her up in another layer of foil just to stop any fat soaking into that blanket because they're a nightmare to clean. Just gonna swaddle her up and do it with a bit of love and care. There you go. Perfect. In the cooler she goes. Lid on. Seal. And we'll let her rest for a couple of hours. I mean, you could go longer than that if you want. I think after a couple of hours we'll be ready for slicing, and then perhaps the most exciting bit, candying those burnt ends. Alright, so our brisket has now had a good 3-hour rest, so that means it's time to get her out, get her sliced up, make some candy. And that's retained all of its heat. That's still fantastically warm. Actually quite excited to see this because we haven't seen this since we put the tallow on it and wrapped it. There we go. The wait is over. Look at that. Fantastic bark on there. Smells amazing already. And we're not even finished yet. So the next thing to do is slice this into some bite-sized even chunks. That knife is just going through so easily. That's incredible. This is only a £2 brisket, so only going to be doing a few chunks here. It's just me and Mrs. Wizard. But obviously you could scale this up as per your audience. You can see we've got a pretty decent smoke ring on here as well. All that's going to add to the flavour. That's cherry wood that I've been using. Alright, it's been a slobber knocker of a cook. I started at about 7:30 this morning. It's now coming up to 6 in the evening. It's been absolutely fantastic. I've enjoyed every minute of it. But all good things have to come to an end. We're getting ready for that final 3 count, and we're going to lead into that with the Pitwaters' very own 5 moves of doom. And that first move in this cookout, a little bit of heat. Courtesy of Frank's Hot Wings sauce. In. Next, we're going in sweet. 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And can you feel this cook drawing to a close? Can you feel the excitement? This is going to be good. There we go. Right. So we've hit it with the sugar sweetness. Next up, some local honey sweetness. We're taking no prisoners tonight. This is going to be sweet, it's going to be hot, it's going to be savoury, it's going to be fantastic. And again, a couple of tablespoons should probably be enough. That looks good. Local honey, for those who are interested. So going in for move 4. Now this would normally be enough to end most cooks, but we're not doing most cooks. We're doing a Wrestlemania 40 cookout. So we're going in with 2 tablespoons of butter. We want it rich, we want it decadent, we want it opulent. This isn't some midweek indies match we're watching. This is Wrestlemania 40. Okay, and last but not least, as if that wasn't enough, we've got the pièce de résistance, or, if you're Finn Balor, the coup de grace. We've got some barbecue sauce. Not any barbecue sauce though. This is our very own Easter egg barbecue sauce, and if you haven't seen the video on how to make this, I will definitely put a link in it for you because you want to make this. This is fantastic. It's going to work brilliantly with these brisket burnt ends, but it works brilliantly with most things, to be honest, so in with about 1/4 cup of this as well. Of the late great Gorilla Monsoon, it's all over but the shouting. We're just going to give this a mix, get amongst it, get in there, get all those flavours together. Get everything all over every piece. There we go. And after a sensational pasting and basting, we know it's coming, you know it's coming, it's all been leading up to this. This is the finishing move. This is what's going to end the cook. This is the final 2 hours in the smoker to get this meat fully candid, tender, and ready for Wrestlemania. We will see you in 2 hours' time for the final pose down. And as it's a celebratory weekend, it would be nothing short of neglectful of us if we didn't partake in a little beverage to celebrate 40 years of Wrestlemania. And in selecting the beer this week, I've gone for something that's reflective of the event that we're celebrating. It's strong, it's sweet, it's going to work beautifully with that meat candy that we've got in the smoker now. So let's give it a try. This one is from the Arpus Brewing Company, and it's a vanilla, maple and coffee imperial stout, which all just flavours that are going to go fantastically with those burnt ends that we've got in the smoker. And this ticks all the boxes, being as it is a very sweet imperial stout by the sounds of the flavours they've infused, but also coming in at an almighty 12%. Apologies to Bobby Lashley, this might be the almighty. That smells amazing. Sort of reminiscent of pancakes and ice cream. That's smelling good already. And that's a good pour. That's quite viscous, which I would expect from an imperial 12% pastry stout. I apologise if the cameras are a bit wobbly. It's quite windy here at the moment, which is nothing new in the Shires of England at this time of year. It smells good. Cheers. That's got a fantastic mouthfeel. It's quite thick. It's quite dessert-like. It is quite sweet. The vanilla actually brightens up what would other be quite a heavy kind of flavour, quite heavy sensation of drinking it, but the vanilla actually really helps and plays a really important role in the overall flavour profile. I'm not getting a ton of coffee, but if I'm honest, that's not a bad thing. It doesn't need it. I think it probably is there in the background somewhere, and that's enough. The vanilla is brightening the otherwise sort of dark and heavy flavours, along with that maple syrup, which actually comes on the back of your palate towards the end of the experience of that beer. That's going to work really well with those burnt ends, I think. I can just see the marriage of that Easter egg chocolate barbecue sauce with that really beefy brisket that we've got, just being completely enhanced and livened up by this fantastic beer. So we'll see you shortly for the final taste test, the final 1, 2, 3 on that meat candy. But what would a Wrestlemania cookout be without a false finish? Because that meat candy is here and ready. We thought we would combine the tag team of the meat candy with the fantastic Arpus Brewing Co. beer today. See how the pairing works. Because this is communal food. This is universal food. This is an homage to the WWE universe and everyone that's a part of it. So we want to see how it pairs with this fantastic sweet Imperial Pastry Stout. And you wouldn't know that's 12%. That's dangerously drinkable. But let's go in for a taste test on these. I mean, just look at these. You just want to dive into these. They look fantastic. Just in case you can't see that there, I'll show you here as well. Just wonderful. Okay, let's go for this guy. Cheers. It's very difficult to sum up just how amazing that tastes. I think maybe Randy Macho Man Savage with an "ooh yeah" might just be the best description of these fantastic burnt ends. They're sweet, but they're very savoury, they're rich, they're full of flavour, they're the perfect bite-sized barbecue food and a perfect celebration of the 40th Wrestlemania. Now, I'm just going to try some with a little swig of beer as well. And as is the case with most things, the beer just makes it even better. It amps up all those fantastic strong flavours that are already there, and the alcohol seems to kind of act as like a warming bed that brings those flavours further around your palate, just makes you more aware of them. This is just fantastic. I'm really pleased with how this cook has gone. I think this is a perfect tribute to WrestleMania. Just look at that, and just look, just squashes in your hand. I'll show you that on this camera too. But squeeze it apart. That's how soft it is. Wonderful eating experience. So the tenderness of that meat is as graceful as a swanton from the top of a steel cage. The bite of that bark is as hitting and as contrasting as a clothesline from hell. It's just got the best of everything that you want in brisket burnt ends. It's a match made in heaven, if you like. Nod to Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior versus Sergeant Slaughter, Colonel Mustafa and General Adnan from SummerSlam 1992, I think. I'll correct that on screen if that's wrong. This has been a championship cookout. This is gold. This is something you're gonna want to make. My name's Billy Buick. This is the Pitwoods Smoke Shack. Thank you very much for watching this knockout cookout, and we'll see you next time. So, this weekend, WrestleMania 40 weekend, to celebrate 40 years of this fantastic event, we are going to be cooking. What the fuck are we cooking?